and she squeaked, and she said, "This is gonna be fun." Before I could ask if this was the kind of fun that came with an instruction manual, she stood up abruptly and she hollered, "I have a virgin! Virgin!" Before I knew what was happening, she stood me up and she had me repeat some oath that I've long since forgotten, and she spanked me. Not brutally, but not overly gently either. I remained fully clothed, but by the time it was done, I was soaked through to the skin because everyone in the theater came up and sprayed me with squirt guns and spray bottles. As quickly as it had started, it was over. She disappeared before I could get her number or drop a Life of Brian quote on her. Now, like most people's, my deflowering was nothing like I had hoped for or imagined, but in its way, it was still magical. I loved every second of it. Before I knew it, she had vanished into the dim light of the theater. While the other regulars repeated similar rituals with a few other virgins in the audience, I turned and looked at Darren. He turned and looked back at me. That was awesome! Not only had a girl practically shown me her boobs, she had touched my face seductively, and she spanked me, and she squirted me with a squirt gun, and she had talked to me on purpose. This was the greatest night of my life, and the movie hadn't even started yet. The lights went down, and the show began. I didn't know any of the lines, but I quickly figured out what to yell at Brad. Asshole! And Janet. Slut! I threw my toast. I saw a guy with no fucking neck describe his balls. Heavy, black, and pendulous. I did the Time Warp. I watched the girl who had taken my rocky virginity claim Magenta, which is why Magenta is my favorite character in the entire production to this day, over 20 years later. When the movie was over, Darren and I drove back to La Crescenta in my slightly better than Patrick Stewart's Honda Prelude. He might have a night hood, but it don't have four-wheel steering. We blasted New Order the whole way with the sunroof open and the windows down. I dropped Darren off at his house, and though I got home around 3 a.m., I was so loaded with caffeine, sugar, and adrenaline, I didn't fall asleep until the sun came up. Now the movie. The movie was campy, and it wasn't especially good, but that wasn't the point. It was a shared experience, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was a place for misfits of all stripes to gather together once a week and fly our Transylvanian freak flags. For the next 2 years, Darren and I led an ever-growing group of our friends to Rocky, at least once a month, sometimes more, at the Rialto Theater in South Pasadena. I haven't been since 1991 or 1992, but those years that we saw it, and the film itself, hold an incredibly special place in my memory. They are a huge part of the person I've become. I'm sure that the jokes have changed. and I am sure that I would feel like a stupid old man. But just once more, I would like to go back there at midnight on a Saturday and do the time warp again.